you're going to come into my house. We're going to have our regular Saturday night worship. And this is kind of something that we do in my home, not all the time. Sometimes I have two boys, those of you that don't know. I have a son, his name is Zachary, and I have a son that's named Elijah, and 15 and 12. And so we sometimes watch the Skit Guys. Anybody know who the Skit Guys are? Yeah, some people. So sometimes we'll watch that for worship, and we'll talk about different things from them. We might watch some other stuff as well. But oftentimes, we just sit down and we talk about the Bible. My 15-year-old especially loves to engage and begins to talk about and ask millions of questions that I cannot answer. So we're going to look at a passage. We always start with prayer first, so let's pray. Dear God, we thank you so much for your love to us. We thank you for your mercy and your grace. And as we look at your word here for just a moment, I pray that you would speak to our hearts. In your name we pray, amen. This is in Luke 19. It's one of my favorite passages, starting with verse 1. Jesus entered Jericho and made his way through the town. By the way, if you would have walked into Jericho, you would have not thought about it like any other city today. It had really narrow streets. In fact, a guy my size, just a couple of us could probably span the entire street. It wasn't very big as far as the roads and so forth. Houses everywhere. And it would have stunk quite a bit. A lot of animals, a lot of people would have had all their stuff in there. And Jericho was a major port city, a major taxation city. And so a lot of people would have been coming through Jericho. So Jesus comes down into Jericho, and he starts walking through the city. There was a man there, and his name was Zacchaeus. He was the chief tax collector in the region, and he had become very rich. That immediately strikes up an image. The image is this. You have a man who has done everything he can do to get wealthy. He's embezzled. He's gotten in bed with the Romans, which would have been an absolute taboo with any of the people there that were Jewish. And he's probably stolen as much money as he possibly can. And so Zacchaeus has made his wealth off the hard work and sweat of his fellow colleagues there and the neighbors there in Jerusalem, or in Jericho. So he tried to get a look at Jesus, but he was too short to see over the crowd. I have a friend, and whenever I think of this, I think of my friend. We're good friends. We were suite mates together for years at Andrews University in undergrad. He's about 5'3", I think. He's a great guy. His name is Rob Ritzenthaler. But the problem is he's down here when I'm standing up. And so everything was short for him. And when we would go do some things, he would have to stand up on a chair to see over and to do stuff like that. And I see Zacchaeus, he's trying to look. He's trying to see what's going on. There's a sense of curiosity. Now, there's a sense of curiosity for a reason. Zacchaeus has heard about Jesus. There's something about Jesus that has got his curiosity up. So he has to see this person. So he ran ahead and he climbed a sycamore fig tree beside the road, for Jesus was going to pass that way. I was in, 5th grade, 4th grade, somewhere like that. There was this big field. And in this large field, there was one huge oak tree. And my buddies and I, we thought, hey, let's build a big fort up there. So we got all busy. We didn't tell our parents. Why would we do that? So we went and we got a bunch of wood and we started cutting little pieces. And I found some nails that my dad had left over, some 16-penny nails. And we started driving those into the tree and started building steps up. And obviously you do that by starting at the bottom, and you put the steps in and you just stand on the steps, and then pretty soon your friends are holding you up so that you can nail the next one up. And, pretty soon there's a daisy chain of friends holding you up. And then you're finally up to where there's a limb, and you keep on going. And we just kept on going because we wanted our tree fort really high so the girls couldn't get to it. So we finally got this tree fort up really high in the tree. And then we started making the 2x4s all the way around the tree. Again, we scrounged some wood from my parents, and we got the 2x4s. We built them all around the tree. And then we found some plywood, and we knew how to cut. We didn't cut our fingers off or anything. And we started putting the plywood on. And we thought, you know what? We've always read about trapdoors, so we got to have a trapdoor. So we found some springs, one-way springs and so forth, and we built a trapdoor on it. And then we got bored. We had a platform. We thought we'd sleep out there one night, and then we thought better of it, said, no, that would be dumb because we'd just roll off the edge. Some of us sleptwalk. And so we decided we wouldn't. And we would go out there every once in a while just to have fun in this oak tree. And then one day while I was gone, one of my best friends went out there. His name was Michael. And he got out there and he climbed up. I don't know what he was doing out there, but he climbed up in the tree and then he fell off. This is about 20 feet high from what I remember. And he broke his arm. And that was it. I never went to the tree fort again because Michael couldn't go. So what's the point? If your friends can't go, why should you go? And I think about that tree fort every time I think about Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus has gone to climb up into this tree. He has to see Jesus. He's got to see. He has a curiosity. There's something about Jesus that he wants to know about. You see, I think he's heard that Jesus has this amazing power. Jesus has all these things that he's done. He's done these miracles. He's changed people's lives. He has fishermen following him, for goodness sakes, the roughest people. I mean, think about it. Jesus has been around and he's hung out with the worst people. He's hung out with prostitutes, with harlots. Jesus has hung out with the worst people, and he condemns the religious leaders. Why wouldn't Zacchaeus want to see Jesus? Zacchaeus has heard about this person, and he kind of likes what he's heard. There's something working on his heart. When Jesus came by, he looked up at Zacchaeus and called him by name. Zacchaeus. You notice Jesus doesn't go around the tree. It was probably right there in the middle of the road. Jesus just stops. The whole crowd's with him. In fact, he can hardly move, and Jesus just stops. And everybody gets quiet. Well, why would he stop? And why would he stop to talk to and listen to and even acknowledge this tax collector, the lowest of the low in the Jewish culture? He said, "Quick, come down. I must be a guest in your house today." Some of us wouldn't like that. I got to go back and fix up my house. I got to go back and make sure it's clean. Make sure I have some food. What if I don't have enough room? What if I don't have a bed? I have to get my kids out of their beds so that Jesus can stay in their bed. How's that going to go at home? Some of us are concerned about the hospitality part of this. But Jesus has already made inroads into Zacchaeus' life, because the next verse says, Zacchaeus quickly climbed down and took Jesus to his house in great excitement and joy. But the people were displeased. He has gone to be the guest of a notorious sinner, they grumbled. If you want to be an amazing leader for young people, you're going to be willing to be the guest of notorious sinners. You're going to be willing to hang out with them. And guess what? You are one. You see, as a Jesus follower, we get to walk and be with and connect with people to show them Christ. And it doesn't matter what walk of life they come from. It doesn't matter if they're challenging. This year, I'm a counselor in Pathfinders with Cindy. And we're having a great time. My son's in the club, one of my sons, my youngest. And we have almost all boys. And we have very lively boys. We have a couple guys that I bring to and from all the time. And they go to Pathfinders. This last week, we're starting to talk about and encourage our kids in the line of how do you connect kids to the disenfranchised among us. And so we're starting to look at that. And so this last week, we get to Pathfinders, and we had a few hiccups about what we were going to be doing. And so our director, thankfully, had found a place where we could go do some stuff, and we were going to go pick up leaves and rake leaves. But on the way there, I didn't know that yet. And here I have a car full of boys that I'm taking to Pathfinders. And they're like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go to Pathfinders. I don't want to be bored. I don't want to just sit around. And I'm like, well, I heard that we have to wear a raincoat tonight. So that probably means that we're going to go outside. Well, that's good. I hope we're gone the whole time because I don't want to be inside. Well, we went out and we raked some leaves. We helped a lady that can't get around very well. She can't even do it herself at all. We helped another single individual and pick up their leaves. And by the time we were done with that, the evening was over. And we went back and we closed out Pathfinders. And then I took the boys home. And as we're driving home, the boys are like, that was okay. We did something tonight. That was okay. You know, when you get your kids out there connecting with people that don't know Jesus, that have a tough life, when you take them to see the homeless, when you connect with them with people that are totally on the margins and edges of life, by the way, with safety, when you do that, they will start to be engaged. It will change them. And it will change you too. So Jesus begins to go to Zacchaeus' house. And here we see something that's amazing. Meanwhile, it says, Zacchaeus stood before the Lord and said, I will give half my wealth to the poor, Lord, and if I have cheated people on their taxes, I will give them back 4 times as much. We're actually talking about this story in Sabbath school today. I didn't know we would be. And there was a point made that I loved. The point was this. The second Jesus said, Zacchaeus, come down, and Zacchaeus started to do it, he was a changed man. He started to come down that tree, and he was changed. And now he's willing to do anything. I mean, we live in the country that's the wealthiest, that's just off the charts rich. I mean, all of us here in this room, no matter how much you have at home, are way more wealthy than well over half the world. How much are we willing to give? Zacchaeus was so changed, he said, I will give up to all of this. And he's willing to give. If you look at the history of the church, you find out there are several people. Nicodemus would be one. Some of the historians say that Zacchaeus was one of those people that after Jesus died, used all their money to fund the church, the early church, to see it grow. Talk about a life changed. It's amazing. Then Jesus responded, salvation has come to this home today, for this man has shown himself to be a true son of Abraham. You know, that's a huge honor to say that in that culture. Abraham was the icon next to Moses. And of course, God, Yahweh. But Abraham, a true son. Why? Because his character, his heart, the depths of his soul have been changed by Jesus. And then Jesus makes a statement that's worthy of every single leader, of every single person working with kids. of every single person working with anybody that wants to know Jesus. For the Son of Man came to seek and save those who are lost. You see, that's our mission. When we do what Pedro was talking about, when we have Jesus living in our hearts, when that is coming out of us and people see the light of Jesus in us, and we start to change them, when our mission becomes, I'm going to go seek and save the lost, it changes us. The mission for Camp MiVoden in the summertime, when we do summer camp and all year long, is connect campers to Christ. That's our mission, to reach others for the kingdom. It's an amazing thing. And I hope you as leaders take that with you into your heart, that you never forget what Jesus has done, and that you mimic and follow his leadership to seek and save the lost. Let's pray. Dear God, we thank you so much for your love to us. We thank you that you care about us. We thank you for your example. Dear Lord, I pray that you would give us a heart for those kids, a heart for the lost in our communities, the lost in our Pathfinder clubs. Pray that you give us a heart for that kid that's challenging in our club, that we would love them, that we would be patient and kind, that we would point them to you. In your name we pray, amen. We're going to move now right into some awards. You want me to invite them up right now? Okay. So it was about 3 years ago. Is that right? Oh my goodness, 3.5 years ago. And I had the opportunity to, well, I guess I would actually say it was a little more like 4 years ago. I got a call, and they said, would you come like to work in Upper Columbia? And my heart said yes, but I said, no, I don't. And over a long series of reasons why, I loved where I was. I loved the ministry I was a part of. My family was connected there, so we liked it there. But when I went home and told my wife, she said, what's wrong with you? You never talked to me about this. And she said, don't you think we should pray about that? And so we did for several days, and I got a call back, and the president said, so you ready to come to Upper Columbia? And I said, well, yeah, I've thought about that. Let's talk a little bit more. And we did. Long story short, I took the job. I was coming here to be the Pathfinder director. I didn't know that things would change so fast. In the process, before I even left Minnesota, I made a phone call. Because after being a Pathfinder director myself and part of Pathfinder clubs, I wanted to talk to the guy that had been here, and I wanted to get to know what they had done. And I remember very clearly, I called Wayne up, and we had a nice conversation. And I don't know, several weeks later, a month later, I don't know what it was, I called him up again, and we had another conversation. That one lasted for about an hour. As we talked about ministries, we talked about Pathfinders, as I shared some of the things I was thinking about, and as he advised, and we talked through some of those things. And I can't tell you how much I appreciated that. And so that was just huge. I got here, and Wayne was off the scene and enjoying life and not working anymore, those kind of things. and then I didn't know very many people here. Everybody was new. It's a new place and all that. And one day, it was one of the first Pathfinders I met, and I met John. And John and I started talking. I could see he was really passionate about Pathfinders and really engaged. It was great. And we had a lot of work to do immediately, like really, really fast. And I'll never forget, we had to find a campsite for Pathfinder Camporee. And so John and I said, well, I don't know the place at all, and I'd like to see the places. you want to take a drive together? And so we got in a car, and we started driving. We drove all the way up to Farragut from Spokane area and all the way to Republic and stopped at several places and came back, and it was beautiful. We had great conversations and talking about all sorts of stuff, and I saw right away that I was going to be really blessed to be in this place, and it was great.
So, whoa, I am really... I've always wanted to have a voice like that. Thank you. That was awesome. So I'm in a monitor here, Elliot. I think the monitor is what's black. Thank you. Oh, that's so much better. Okay. So last year, we started a new award here at Leadership Retreat. How many of you were here last year for leadership? Yeah, good number of you. I think this whole thing started with Cheryl Wallace. I think it was her idea in the beginning, so we're going to give her credit. But we were talking about ways to honor a particular individual and ways to elevate the value of mentoring in our conference among our team and to recognize people who have left a legacy of mentoring in their work. And so last year, we created an award to honor one of our coordinators, June's husband, Frosty, who was an outstanding coordinator, an outstanding human being and Christian, and who left an incredible legacy of mentoring in this conference. And so we created the Frosty Cross Mentorship Award, and last year, of course, we gave one to June, and Steve Meharry received one. And so this year, the coordinators this summer talked about a process for how we would award those moving forward, and they decided that they would like you to begin to give input to who people you think, that you know, that you work with, that you just see are creating and leaving that legacy of mentoring in their ministry and club ministries here in our conference. And so at the fair this coming spring, we'll be asking you to begin that process. But in the interim, the coordinators themselves made nominations. And so tonight, we would like to present those awards to two men who served over 30 years together as a team in this conference. I'd like to invite Wayne and John, if you would come up right now. Come on up, you two. So Jeff told his stories on you too, and I wanted to kind of talk about the award a little bit. So come on up, Wayne. This is your time. I know how you love being up here. So just like old times. So a lot of people, we could spend the rest of the evening right here. A lot of people have a lot of stories about you too, and Jeff shared some of his. And oh no, they haven't. No, they haven't. They've been telling me. So. Wayne, how many years were you director here? We were debating this morning exactly how many that was. 36. See, I had the right number. I had a question mark by it, though, because 36 years. And clearly, no one has had more impact on club ministries in this conference than Wayne Hicks. When I was a kid, as a Pathfinder, this was my director. So it's pretty fun to be able to honor you tonight, the guy who... you pointed out, I remember when I was in 8th grade.
I remember you were 8th grade.
Yeah.
I've heard when he was in 8th grade.
I remember I was doing a backpacking demonstration in the basement of the Colville Church. And I'd worked so hard on this, and I was so proud of it. And you, in your nice, gentle way, just stood up behind me and pointed out that I had not packed deodorant. And as a junior hire, I immediately was looking for a place to hide. But it didn't stop there, because then you're the guy who suggested to Gordon Pfeiffer that maybe Richie Brower should work at camp someday, and started that ball rolling.
And you never sent me the check either.
No, you're right, and you probably need that now, don't you? So I'll have to dig that up. Yeah, I've been sitting on it for a lot of years. I think it's gained like 20 cents interest, so it's going to be good. And not only that, when I worked task force, you and I traveled all over the conference together, often in your plane, and you're the one that really introduced that love of flying for me, and I have a lot of memories there. So I want to thank you, Wayne, for the mentoring you've done in my life. I remember you sitting me down one day, and I won't say exactly the words of advice you gave me, but I've never forgot them, and I find myself in difficult situations. I remember what Wayne Hicks told me to do with difficult comments, and I follow your advice. That was good advice. John, I've got even more stories to tell on you. So what a lot of you don't know is that I actually grew up in this man's home for many years. And so when I was in 7th grade, Jeff, I can't believe you just turned loose of the mic. What's up with that?
There's really something wrong with this.
Thank you for my friends in the back who turned the volume off.
Why did he become my boss? I'm not sure.
Well, the Bible has a lot of things to say about justice. Tonight we're talking about justice, though. So John spent, in fact, when I was a kid, he was the coordinator of the North Lakes District. But before that, when I was in 4th grade, this is the man who taught me right face from left face. And in my case, that was a real challenge. It took some time. I just could not get those figured out. 32 years as the North Lakes District Coordinator. That's why I was asking. And since then has been the head coordinator, which is a role he holds still today. And I'm grateful for that. And as we talked, one of the things we realized is that these two guys spent a lot of years as a team leading together in club ministries. And so,
We still like each other.
which is quite remarkable, actually. So it just felt right to honor the two of you at the same time with the Frosty Cross Mentorship Award. And I don't know if you have favorite colors. We didn't, choose these. But I just want to, Jeff, if you can pick one up and open it up. I'll do the same. So what we have, the big pin in the shadow box, it doesn't fit uniform code. So the coordinators wisely suggested that we create a smaller one. And this is to be worn left chest pocket right there on your uniform. So we just want to thank you. Just a moment, let me finish, and then you can say all you want. Just want to say thank you to both of you for the years of service, the way that you have modeled Christ, and the impact that you've had on so many lives, not just standing up front, but in side-by-side personal relationship, mentoring one another. And we just want to say thank you.
I have a picture in my mind that used to be on Cheryl's desk. Cheryl, where are you? She's hiding. She's out there. It's a picture of Discovery Bay Camporee. Nathan Phelps from Tri-Cities is being baptized. And behind it, if you've seen this picture, Frosty is saluting. And Frosty accepted early on the concept that Pathfinder had to be discipling, had to be mentoring. And it was a core value he ingrained in his own life, and June as well. It made a huge difference, not only his district, but the whole conference as well. And this is an honor to have anything to be associated with Frosty in any way. It is an honor, because he was an incredible, incredible man, and I wish all of you could have known him. And I'm glad that this concept of mentoring lives on with this award, and in the CPAC and CPAD program, which he had his prints all over, because that's what Pathfinder Adventures is all about. And for those of you who think I've retired, Thomas is half asleep back there, but Matt, would you hold him up? because Thomas is one of our adventurers. He sits on the front row every Wednesday night when I get to tell the story with Patty and Amy and the other Adventure Club people at Deer Park. Thanks, Thomas, for being here.
Well, it is a surprise. And I just need to tell you a story that happened while I was associated with this guy. We were traveling to Spirit Lake, actually, to visit their club. And at that time, Wayne was in the rebuilding vehicles.
We're going to Silver Valley.
Well, we hadn't got there yet. And he had a problem with this Volkswagen, if I remember right.
You can just laugh and he doesn't have to tell the story.
And he had a wire, I think it was on the alternator, that kept falling off. And we went over 4th of July Pass, and by then it had gotten dark, and it started getting, his lights started getting dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. So he shut it off because he didn't want to stick his hand down there to put that wire back on with the engine running.
Right. I'm not as dumb as I look.
And we're in uniform, and his car wouldn't start after he got that wire on.
Well, the battery's dead.
Yeah, the battery's dead. So here I am pushing him down the freeway in my uniform, and he let out on the clutch. Luckily, it wasn't automatic, and it wouldn't start. He didn't have the key turned on.
It was the best move I ever made.
So next time I said, you're pushing, and I'm going to.
Thanks, you guys. Appreciate you being here and appreciate your service. Okay, now it's your turn. We need the area coordinators. If you would, let's not dump them all. That'd be sad. I've been working hard to get all organized. So I need somebody to come up here who had something to do with this and tell me how this is set up so I do it right. So for those of you, and there's a lot of you who are here for your first time, we are going to take some time to recognize the years of service that everybody we have record for at least has in the room. And the reality is that what makes our program work well and provides the stability is having people who come for more than just 12 months, right? And so what you're going to see is part of the strength of the program here is both that we have new faces coming in who are bringing new energy and ideas and saying, yep, I'll put my hand to the plow, and also that we have others who've been doing it for quite some time, and we want to honor those years of service here tonight. So coordinators, I'm going to need some of you shy people to come up here and talk to me and tell me how you set this up.
All right, we have somebody I know pretty well, Thomas Liebold, 16 years, adventurers.
Okay, as we read your name, if you'll just come up and down this side so we can get it to you fairly quickly, and we'll just kind of keep moving through. So, Thomas?
Amy Mendoza, 3 years, Deer Park. Lorena Mundell, 6 years, Colville Cats. Jenny Resendez, Howling Wolves. It looks like it's her first year. Christina Smith, 3 years, Spokane South Hill. Eileen Sotero, Adventures, Pasco Dakota Eagles. It's her first year. Myra Sotero, 11 years, Adventure. She's the one handing out the pins. Ricardo Sotero, 1 year, Adventurers. He may be out with the baby. Nina Summers, first year for Adventures, Walla Walla Sunrise. Rochelle Summers, first year Adventures, Sunrise. I just wanted to be clear. If you're in your first year just starting, you can come up. We'll congratulate you. We give out pins after first full year of service. And we have a lot of new leaders and adventurers. We're really thrilled.
Yes.
Valerie Young, 29 years. Woohoo! Solana Archer, 2 years. Lori Hinger, 23 years. Lori does double duty. She helps in adventures and Pathfinders.
Wow.
Amanda Thompson, 7 years. Jennifer Watson, 2 years. Patty Vanderhoof, 20 years.
Yeah.
Sarah Williams, 2 years. Judy Ann Horler, 20 years. Woo. Daphne Duncan, 15 years. Daphne's working with the real young kids. They're doing Discovery Club. So they're starting out with babies and moving them right on up and really working closely with parents.
Wow.
Kathy Young, 1 year. I think that's it. All right, thank you.
Okay, let's hear it for all of our adventurers staff. I am loath to touch this.
So from Columbia Basin, Andrew Bigelow, 2 years. Come on up, Andrew. Amanda Calderon, 7 years. Leo Calderon, 1 year. Come on up, please. Diana Carter, 11 years.
All right.
Linda Chin, 18 years. Paul Christensen, 24 years. Janelle Clendenin, 16 years. Alexis DeVore, 1 year. Rochelle Ellis, 5 years. And Andreas Flores, we didn't know how many years. Where are you? Andreas, can you raise your hand for me? Not here. Okay, we'll try to reach him later. Ben Forey, 12 years. Kristalina Flirchinger, 9 years. Perry Flirchinger, I think they're related, 15 years. Beto Garibay, 15 years. Elizabeth Garcia, 4 years. Norma Gizar, 8 years. Cindy Johnson, 31 years. Larry Johnson, 28 years. Nicole Judge, 9 years.
Cool.
Allison Knopp, 5 years. Brenda Lucy, 3 years. Tina Louderback. I think Tina Louderback's in the Blue Mountain District. Am I right? Thank you. Levi Martin, are you here? Don't be shy. Raise your hand. All right, we'll try to touch base with him later. Jesse Martin, 11 years. Not here. Thank you for clarifying that. Oh, hey, somebody says there are. Let's find them. Dawn Moore, 1 year. All right, Don, you're on your way. Francisco Mora, 4 years. That's Blue Mountain as well.
Is that okay?
Ben Shearer, 17 years. Jennifer Shearer, 15 years. Roberta Sugars, 15 years. Ricardo Sotero, 1 year.
Yes.
All right. And I don't think those two are here with us. All right.
All right. Man, it's loud. Barbara Pierce, 31 years.
Woo!
Tina Lauterbeck, 3 years. Okay. All right. We have several here that I don't have a year for, so if you want to let us know, we can get you set up with that. Alma Torres. 1 year? Okay. Is this your first year or you've completed a year? Okay, so Danielle Clayville? Oh, I'm sorry. Is this your first year or completed too? Okay. We'll make sure and get that set up for you.
Actually, Danielle, if you want to come up, we'll send you out here and we'll take care of you.
Oh, there you go. That one wouldn't get a pin. Yeah. Doris Tucker. For some reason, I don't have a year for you. 14 years. All right. I'm going to write that down, and then we'll send you out to get a pin.
Here's your magic ticket, though.
We should almost just do it that way. Jody Dupuy. Man, I should learn this.
I know that because she came from Columbia Basin.
There you go. How many years? Okay, so we need to put a 3 there, and we'll get you. I know I'm going to slaughter this, but Nancy, I believe, from College Place Spanish. It's her first year. All right, perfect. Thank you. All right. Benjamin Tucker, 14 years. Danny Weaver, 21 years. David Forsyth, 5 years. Debbie Forsyth, I should know this, 4 years. Megan Pope, 4 years. Robin Patterson, 25 years. Raleigh Hedrick, 7 years. Stacy Schwartz, 10 years. Steve Meharry, 34 years. Sean Kroschel. I've known you long enough. I think I've known you more than that. 15 years. Oh, Robin Patterson was 35 years. Let's give her a hand. Doreen McCulloch, 10 years. Eleanor Duncan, 10 years. Emily Hagee, 5 years. Felix Tan, 13 years. Kailing Tan, 9 years. John Boos, 18 years. Lori Boos, 8 years. Judy Woodworth, 10 years. Jerry Bobbitt, 25 years. Yeah, slight relation. Jeremy Beam, 2 years. Tracy Schwartz, 5 years. Trina McCoon, 5 years. Len Pope, 19 years. Lisa Colville, 11 years.
Good job.
Tracy Pope, 19 years. And Tracy Carruthers, 2 years.